Okay, so we've now done the aerobic cardiovascular section of the warm-up, which was roughly about 7 minutes. So now this is just moving on a little bit, just to be a little bit more focused on the shoulders, trying to increase the mobility within the shoulder range of movement, okay? So we're just going to start off just nice and relaxed. You're just going to bend your knees soft, just tip slightly from the pelvis, you're flexing your hips. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to start off swinging the arms from side to side. Notice my knees are flexing slightly just to absorb some of the motion. So the key thing here is I'm keeping my head still, looking at the imaginary blue line, and I'm just basically swinging the arms from side to side. Now I can make that more difficult by standing up, slightly separating, keep that the knees bent and soft, and now I've created that into a rotation movement. Okay, so my whole torso is moving, but I'm going to keep my head still. Okay, so my torso and my shoulders are doing the job. Keeping my hands also in line with my shoulders, so they're not down here, although it wouldn't hurt, but at some point you want to get it into the range of movement that you will be replicating in swimming. Okay, and then we can turn that into nice big circles, up and down. So using your legs to get yourself nice and high, really stretching up. Really feel that stretch with that outside hand. Coming down and up. Just working those shoulders. And then we can go the other way. That's it. The other way. Just making kind of like a figure of 8 with a hand. Really focus on stretching up nice and tall. Again, try to keep that head nice and still. Try not to follow your hands as I was just doing. Okay, easily done. Okay, and relax. So we can do single arm. Nice and easy, so single arm. Try to get the upper part of your arm brushing past your ear. Okay, and you might feel easier if you put one foot in front of the other, and then actually you can rotate with it. Same again on the other side. Just do about 10 is fine. Again, keeping my head nice and still, looking forwards. Again, I can do the same thing going forwards. So notice how my hips are rotating to allow the full circle. Because when you're in the water, it's actually quite difficult to do the range of movement. Otherwise you keep flat to the water. Notice how I can't get my arm over the water. So in order to get my arm over, I need to rotate. That way I can enter my hand exactly where I want it to go. If you don't rotate, the hand ends up flying across the body, the momentum, and crossing the centre line. So it's really important that we rotate. Without rotation, we get that cross of the centre line and then the legs split. And then we're working really hard to try and keep ourselves going forward. And then we can do the same on the other side. That's it. So the shoulder actually ends up pointing up towards the ceiling. This would be exactly the same in the water. So follow your hand a few times just to make sure shoulder, and then once you think you've got the swing of it, pardon the pun, then you can keep your head still, just focusing on that rotation. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're just going to bend again from the hips and just get those arms going forwards in a nice high tempo movement. Obviously, if you've got really inconsistent shoulder movement, you might not want to do this exercise if it causes you any pain. Again, you can do the same thing going backwards, just to undo and open out the chest muscles, because we spend most of our time doing front crawl, and it tightens up the chest muscles, and then we end up with forward shoulders, so we want to keep those out. So even though we don't swim backstroke, it's really good to include that as part of your mobility warm-up. Okay, so back to that figure of 8. Nice and stretch, really stretch up. So you can really feel your body getting nice and warm. Arms out in front, big circles. That's it, nice and big. So that's pulling the shoulders forward. Now we're going to undo that by really, really opening out the shoulders and stretching out those chest muscles by bringing those hands right back. Then we're going to stand one foot in front of the other. Okay, and then we're going to, eyes looking down. This is the pulling action. The underwater phase, imagine. So we just pull, 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 pull. These are all great exercises later on down the line when we're focusing on the arm propulsion phase, where we can start to introduce cables and resistance cords to add a bit more resistance. Okay, both going one way and both going the other way. And then you can just mix it up. Do what you like. Swing, swing, swing. Forwards and backwards. We can do. So we're doing the press phase, back to the hip, or we can do alternates. They're like that. So we're bringing the elbows in and we're just practicing those movements. Just make it up. Okay, ready to go.